If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to Downfall Network for more cool content.
What's up, everyone? Thralls of Metal here for yet another excellent album review. I am Shredlord von Riffenberger.
Full name now. Necrotic Nick.
I am Jammin John von Jammin John
Berg.
Stein Ski.
Von Bergsteinski. And this lovely trio that stands/sits before you, we are here to bring you the 8th release of Lamb of God, or 10th if you count Burn the Priest. Their new self-titled coming out on Nuclear Blast.
Band formed in 1994 under Burn the Priest. Changed their name when they signed to Prosthetic, and pretty much have been a staple of groove metal since that time. They pretty much erupted right after nu metal died, and all their contemporaries took off as well. This is the first album that features Art Cruz on drums, formerly of Prong, since Chris Adler left. And this is the longest break I think they've had between albums. There's a 5-year break here.
Lost, left, fired. We don't really know. There's a lot of haze around Chris Adler. You
really
know,
vague.
He got lost somewhere and he wasn't coming back. He went AWOL. He got fired. No, he left.
Well,
but
he was in that motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he
yeah,
did show
yeah.
up on a Megadeth album. It was pretty good.
Yeah, but he was good enough to play on the Megadeth album, which was sweet. So once again, who fucking knows? But anyway, yeah, Art Cruz is a nice replacement.
I'm familiar with him because I've listened to a lot of Prong's recent stuff. He's a solid drummer, and he pretty much fits the mold on this. I'd say there are a couple times in here where he definitely sort of emulates Chris Adler's style a bit.
I would say a lot.
Especially like those token fills.
But he has a couple things on here that make it his own as well, albeit they're kind of few and far between.
And I don't think they necessarily asked him to do entirely too much as far as like really reach and go like as far as Chris Adler did, because a lot of this is very mid-tempo. And granted, Lamb of God's a groove metal band. They like to stick in that nice little 4/4 pocket, just bang your head. But this really labors it to a point where, man, I could really use some faster tracks. The first 3 tracks, granted now 2 of them were singles released, Memento Mori and Checkmate, but also the third track, Gears, are very, very similar. Yes. The only thing that really separates them are pretty much the intros. They both kind of labor that like 4/4 time, little chuggy, double time thing. Breakdowns, of course.
Gears has a couple different chuggy moments in it. I will state that it sounds an awful lot the same.
Gears is like Redneck's little brother. What do we say? Pink esophagus. Yeah, the rhythmic cadences of the guitar and everything. I mean, it's pretty much Redneck's little brother, Pink Esophagus. Those first 3 tracks are very, very just standard format Lamb of God, almost to the point of boredom, only because you feel like you've heard this a bunch of times before.
Yes.
That's a thing, though, and that's been a thing for Lamb of God for me since, like, Sacrament. Maybe a touch of Wrath. Anything after that I thought was just recycled crap.
A lot of recycled ideas. It's mainly just the pace. Like, usually, all right, on a Lamb of God album, that second track is a little bit faster than that opening track. The opening track generally is a nice little groovy, chuggy anthem, and then you get into a nice faster thrashy section. Now they tease moments like this.
Yes.
Like a Reality Bath, there are parts where they get into that thrashy gallop, like, oh yeah, this song's gonna come alive, and then it just goes right back to
normal, like 4/4 just drive.
And granted, I liked Reality Bath. It kind of broke off a little bit. The chug on it is interesting, the syncopation, and there was a cool little dissonant melody on it, but it only teases being more energetic than the other ones. It's only slightly different.
And the big differences of these tracks that make them sound a little different are kind of weird to me. Like in Checkmate, the whole like, oh, you're in the practice room vibe. Just kidding, it's a polished, produced song. That was cool and everything, but I kind of wished I could hear both versions. I'd kind of like to hear what the beginning would have sounded like if it was actually like, produced like the rest of the song. Yeah. Granted, that's a small little thing. And I will say that Gears has my favorite solo on the album. There's not too many of them, but I like the Gears solos. Mark Morton doing his thing, and I thought it sounded good.
And Mark Morton's always been good at leads, as far as those are concerned.
Yeah, and he definitely has, like, signature style riffs that, I mean, you could pretty much handpick out of albums, like, the kinds that he writes. Especially in Checkmate. The opening to Checkmate has that kind of bluesy, kind of thrashy little thing that is definitely him.
He's very heavy pentatonic. He's kind of like from the Zakk Wylde school of guitar, to where it's just like heavy pentatonic and heavy blues scales, and he makes it work. You know, he owns it and he makes it work, and it works well for Lamb of God. The other thing that I think of is Randy started this trend on Sturm und Drang, where he started, you know, singing more, right? Memento Mori has this spot in the beginning that almost sounds like he's trying to be like Peter Steele a little bit, you know? Like he's trying to sound like real low and sexy like Pete. And I mean, there's only one Peter.
Yeah.
Satan rest his soul.
Randy just sounds like he's been smoking since he was 10.
Yeah, and sometimes in the mix, like his voice almost fades in with the bass. So it's almost like his voice goes away for a little bit in the register he's singing. So I do appreciate the fact that Randy's trying to mix it up a little bit and do some things that are different, because honestly, the rest of the band really isn't trying to be different that much. But for some reason, it just doesn't work for me, man. I commend the creativity he's going for and the way to change it up, but it just sounds weak. So maybe if he doesn't want to like growl and scream all the time, maybe finding a different register, even if it's a little bit higher, something that maybe cuts through and sounds a little bit better. Because when it's super low, like I said, maybe it's the production or something, but there were times in the beginning of Memento Mori where like I feel like his voice and the bass line were like one, like his voice just cut out and warped right into the bass.
Bloodshot Eyes, the cleans were interesting, but they were used very sparingly. Like, it wasn't to the level of Overlord off of Sturm und Drang, where it was predominantly cleans in that first part. And
someone to my left hates that song.
I did not like that song.
I'm not crazy about it either until the breakdown. When the breakdown comes, it's balls to the wall, like I'm ready to punch somebody and jump in the pit. Like that, when the song picks up, the song picks up. And I'll go on record as saying, I loved Sturm und Drang. I loved 512.
It was meh.
I liked it. I liked it a lot.
There are some songs on here that are just kind of bad, though. All right, Resurrection Man, probably my least favorite one on here. This felt like a watered-down version of Omerta without the cool lyrical theme. And it starts off really plotty, and I have to say the lyrics on this are really cheesy. And generally, Randy's a solid lyricist. And it picks up towards the end, but it's not enough to save the song. It actually picks up towards like maybe the last quarter of the song, and you're pretty much like, where was this energy earlier? And I feel like they kind of underutilized their guests, especially one in particular with Chuck Billy from Testament. It's a nice thrashy song.
I like that song a lot.
Has a good gallop to it. It kind of feels like it could have been like a B-side on Testament's last album, which was brilliant.
Yeah, the music was good, but
I like the music a lot. Chuck Billy was way too low in the mix.
Very.
And why couldn't we get Chuck Billy on a verse?
Yeah,
exactly.
Why couldn't he split a verse with Randy or something?
And the vocals were so processed, too. And this is a guy that has such a great voice, you really don't need to do much to it in the studio. And then you have Jamie Josta on Poison Dream, which is, I hate to say it, a filler track. And the only thing that makes that track stand out is the fact that Jamie Josta does a couple vocal lines, because his vocals are decidedly different than Randy's. Other than that, that song is just kind of there. The one track that I really thought showed a lot of life was New Colossal Hate.
I like that one too.
I think that's the best song on the album. That actually showed the flashes of the old Lamb of God.
Yeah.
It's
got
fast.
different elements in it. It's got elements from the past, from like As the Palaces Burn, Ashes of the Wake era.
Yeah. The riff structure is really cool. There's a cool, catchy melody, but it doesn't sacrifice any intensity. It's still kind of more in that groovy pocket, but they do something within that beat to make it interesting. It doesn't just, stand that little standard beat. It actually has some cool flourishes too, and I think they let Art Cruz do a little bit more on drums on that one.
It's my favorite track on the album.
Mine too.
I also really like Bloodshot Eyes. I liked it a lot. Once again, that was the track I was referring to earlier, where Randy tries to do the clean vocals. Doesn't work for me, but once again, I applaud his effort to just go out on a limb and try some new things and see what works and see what doesn't.
Unlike the rest of the band.
Yeah, honestly, the rest of the band seems to be kind of in cruise control. Well, Randy's still doing his thing. He's still doing really well on this. I think one of the flashes of that old Lamb of God also came on the Hook, which is the lone really thrashy up-tempo song on here. Now, Roots does have kind of a more like a D beat, almost kind of punkish feel to it. This one actually screams thrash, and there's even a section with some blast beats in it. Definitely reminded me a lot of stuff on Ashes of the Wake again. But it comes too late in the album. This should have been the second or third track to kind of break it up. And by then you've already listened to a lot of songs that really kind of run into each other, minus a few. So it's kind of an issue of pacing there.
All right, so let's get down to the rankings. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. While I have some complaints about the album, when I listen to the Lamb of God, I expect a certain vibe, and I definitely get it, even if I got it a little more than I wanted to. But there's still spots throughout this record that are new, fresh, and creative. And there are probably 3 or 4 songs that I really, really enjoyed on this album, even though it's not half. But still, once again, I knew what I was getting myself into with the Lamb of God. And while I don't think it's a terrible album, it's definitely not one of their strongest. And I would hope on their next release that Mark and Willie kind of dig deep into their brains and really try to push themselves from a creative level. Not lose the Lamb of God feel, but try to evolve it in a way that it doesn't sound like AC/DC syndrome, you know, where you don't want to release the same album 8 times, you know? So I still think this is a good record. It was well produced. There's a lot of great playing on it. There's good riffs. Could have used some more up-tempo shit like that, but all in all, I'm going to give it a solid 3 out of 5. What do you think, John Jammin?
No,
Jingle
Wait, Steinski verb.
Steinbergski.
Yes. I'm gonna give it also a 3 out of 5. It was all right. I haven't really actually been a big Lamb of God fan in many years because of the recycled sound that they have. They didn't bring a whole lot new to the table. It's not bad. There are some good jams. New Colossal Hate was decent. Off the Hook was decent. I even kind of like the groove on Gears. But I mean, it's nothing to write home about. And along with what Shred said too, you know, in the future I'd like to see them maybe try and take a little bit different of a course. They've been around for a long time. Yeah, early Lamb of God is great, but that's the sound I kind of want to go back to because I think there's a lot more to play with in that era than there is where they're stuck now. So there you go.
Necrotic.
Well, someone's got to be the bad guy, and it's going to be me. I'm giving it a 2.5. This is just too safe. And for a band that's jumping on a new label right now, you want to make a splash. This doesn't make much of a splash. This is a lot of recycled ideas. It stays very much in its comfort zone, and when it comes out of it, it's pretty nice, but I mean, a lot of the stuff I felt like were backing tracks for people to solo over. Like, it just doesn't really grab me. There's not a lot of energy here, and I miss that energy because I love their earlier releases. I still jam those. This just, it needs an uplift in spirit, and I'm hoping the next one comes out swinging and just goes absolutely furious again because that's exactly what they need. Randy did a good job. I think Art Cruz is a good fit, but I think Lily and Mark are definitely very much in this comfort zone, and you know, maybe it's the whole idea of, well, we don't want to alienate our fan base, but I think they went with that too much. Like, because you can experiment within your sound and find cool stuff. Like, we're jamming Testament right now, and they are still 100% Testament, but they know how to write things differently for each album.
Such as their last album.
Such as the last album was a banger.
Yep.
Absolute banger.
Yep.
But, yeah, this one fell short for me.
All right, now that Necrotic is done shitting in your cornflakes, it brings us to a close. Well, not when you shit in them. Nobody likes cornflakes when you shit in them. Let's be real.
Wow.
I enjoy a good bowl of cornflakes in the morning.
You won't enjoy them after I'm done shitting in them.
You're right.
Man, all this bad talk about breakfast cereal. I wasn't prepared.
I'll shit in your Captain Crunch.
I'm gonna drop a big fat.
I'm just
kidding. No, I like the roof of my mouth. I'm against Captain Crunch.
Yeah, fiberglass.
Except for the peanut butter.
And crack cocaine.
But we digress. If you like the review, please give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button to our Thralls of Metal channel because we do cool shit like this all the fucking time. So, take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
And each other.
Later.